Welcome to the Keeba-Live show. I'm your host, William Lee, podcaster, podcast producer, and the founder of the Disruptors Podcast Network. Boy, do we have a show for you today. So welcome. And now let's talk about, does T-Mobile really know what bait and switch stands for? Well, welcome everybody. It's a pleasure to be with you. This is a Friday night show where we can sit down and have simple conversations about things going on. But before we get started with our conversation tonight, which is a barn burner, because we're going to talk about the great T-Mobile bait and switch program, which is probably being used by all the various, I would say, cell phone providers and carriers. But this particular one that we're going to talk about tonight, well, we have firsthand experience on how a manager controlled the situation and made the T-Mobile upgrade look really like bait and switch. Before we start there, though, however, I want to just take a moment to thank everybody for being with us tonight, and also to remind you that there's a very special occasion going on in the city of Tacoma at the First Christian Church of Tacoma. But I'm going to let Santa tell you all about it. And now, here he is.
Ho, 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 ho. Merry Christmas. I'm Santa Claus, and I'm very busy, up here at the North Pole. We've got tons and tons of great toys coming from our toy factory to Tacoma, when my good friends Grandpa Bill and Grandma Gail have their third annual holiday toy giveaway. Santa knows that some families are suffering from financial difficulties, but they're welcome to free toys and gifts that I'll be loading into my sled for all the good boys and girls of all ages. To register for a pickup time for the toys, please email Grandma Gail at bookworm, that's BOKWORM, 234 at AOL.com. And when you do, Santa wants you to include the following information: your name, telephone number, number of children and their ages, and what day or time would you like to come to Santa's workshop at 602 North Orchard Street in Tacoma. Now the days are gonna be the 14th through the 17th, and then the 19th through the 21st. Hours will be at 9 a.m. until 8 p.m. On Sunday, December 18th, we'll start giving away toys at 2 p.m. until 8 p.m. Walk-in subject to availability. Now, where is that going to be again? 602 North Orchard Street in Tacoma. Tell them when you get there that they are good boys and girls. That's Grandpa Bill and Grandma Gail and all their elf helpers. Oh, well, I've got to go now. I've got a lot of things to do and a lot of places to be. So, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
What a great program indeed that it is. I've worked with B&G Sponsored Events, who is the founder of Grandpa Bill and Grandma Gail Toy Giveaway, and this is the third year, and it's tremendous of what they've done. You know, they're a simple grassroots organization everything that they have put together in the last 3 years of giving away toys to over thousands of kids has been through their generosity of many people volunteering and the outside community helping out. And it's been a great cause. And I know this year, being at the end of the pandemic, being the typically, I think, hard time financially on a lot of people, this is going to be a great relief for many families for sure. So I'd like to personally thank B&G Sponsored Events and Gail and Bill for doing a great job indeed for helping our community. I want to talk to you about the greatest thing on earth, and that's the cell phone. Did you know that there's more cell phones in operation on the earth than there is population? Isn't that amazing? Everybody's got a cell phone. When we started manufacturing these ideas of communications over the airwaves, it was clear back in the days of television and radio, and that dates way, way back. And as history has gone on, high technology has taken over, and we've continued to grow and experiment and open up new markets and go into complete new fields of communication, which has made the cell phone now the backbone of communication, not just visually, audially, but also texting and a host of other great features. Well, here's what kind of went wrong and why tonight on Keeba-Live we're going to be talking about one feature that I'm not too sure I think I'd like to have ever happen to anybody, to be honest with you. Just recently, a good friend of mine and his wife went into a local T-Mobile store, and her phone, which she had had for a couple of years, was running down. It didn't have the features that she wanted, and it was getting tired. It had been used daily, and it was, to her whole life, her business, everything was on this particular phone. So she went into the local T-Mobile store, because that's where she assumed she had her account. Said, hey, I want to buy a new phone. And her husband decided, well, honey, let me pick out a phone for you, because this is kind of a special day for you anyway. It was her birthday. So as he's looking at the phones, the salesman comes over, and naturally, it's a salesman. It's all go, 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 all ready to sell you anything that doesn't move literally, and what does move at double the price. Well, as we talk about on the show, The Disruptors, community service, customer service, communication, it all blends in together. It all goes in together into one very interesting piece of conversation. So when the gentleman was picking out and looking at different phones, he was asking prices and features. At no time did the T-Mobile sharpshooter ever mention to him plans and pricing. Oh, no. Oh, you've got to have this. This is what you need. This is a wonderful phone here. And we can give you a trade-in and cut your allowance down and make this a very affordable phone for you. That was the first thing that they should have watched out for. Now, instead of the salesman taking time to actually go through and what I consider communicating with the customer, trying to find out exactly what their needs are for the phone, show them some of the features, ask them the price range that they're in, to be honest with you, and price is very important right now, and the particular uses. Oh no, he shot to the top of the market, right up there at the top, number one phone that just costed probably a little bit of friction between the wife and the husband at first. But the husband was generous enough to say, okay, well, honey, you got to have the phone. So she trades in her phone. The gentleman does the magic trick, where you take out a top hat, put the phone in, take out your magic wand, over the top of the phone, and then pulls it out of the hat and says, oh, yeah, we can give you a trade-in value of X number of dollars. So there we start what I call the original bait and switch routine. You know, in the old car days, they would put out a beautiful car, was all gorgeous and all this at a price you just had to buy, when they were actually going to switch you to another vehicle that wasn't worth a pile of garbage, but made a good commission price. Baiting and switching goes on in marketing and advertising since the beginning, actually, of mass and media advertising. And I'm sure that maybe I'm overstating these facts as, well, not being right there when this whole thing went down. In fact, I had the opportunity to interview both people after the sale was completed and what happened later. But let's get back to the story. The gentleman picked out the phone. The salesman immediately, "Oh, you need a case for this phone. This is a beautiful phone. And we've got beautiful cases here. Let me show you a case." Well, of course, he had to show the case that fit the phone. And naturally, the highest price case in the whole building was the only one that would really fit the phone functionally. But wait a minute, folks. You can't have a cell phone unless you have a screen protector on that. Scratches, mars, and take the value of your phone at trade-in time away. So let me get you a screensaver. And I'll put it on for you right now. So as the gentleman undoes the box, lays the phone out, puts the cover on, the screensaver on, and then it's time for checkout because everybody's satisfied. And the household lady of the home, and I like to say that because, ladies, when you run a home and a family, budgeting and things of this nature are second nature to you. You really do understand that. Well, this wonderful salesman who works on commission, I will guarantee you, automatically backs up and, well, this is a great deal here. Okay, let me run this into the computer. Well, while he's typing into the computer, the housewife is kind of looking at her husband, kind of confused. She says, "Well, golly, that carrier case was awful expensive, wasn't it?" "Well, honey, for you, it's only the best. The screensaver, wow, that's a little bit more expensive." Salesman naturally coming out and then double talking to move the sale on, comes out with a general consensus that this is absolutely what you have to have. Now, the interesting part of this whole story is the fact that, number one, when she got her cell phone, she was with Sprint. And, of course, Sprint was bought out by T-Mobile. A lot of carriers have been combined into different packages by the big dog as he eats up the little bits of territory and then closes in and absorbs, or shall we say in the terminology world, they emerge as one company. Well, hey, this is fine. And they all have many plans. Now, she had a plan, and she knew in the back of her mind it was going to cost her X number of dollars per month. What she didn't realize was that this wonderful salesman, who was the gift to cell phone people and buyers everywhere, had just now stuck her on the highest end of programming plans that you can get, but never mentioned the price, never asked her about her needs or how they should work this program and how financially the other carrier had treated her. None of that was done. No. This was all planned out and put together. So when they got done with it, he says, "I want to do something for you. I'm going to give you a set of earbuds absolutely free for coming in today and buying this wonderful phone. And I'm going to discount this phone, and it's going to cost you approximately, about with taxes and everything, $500. $500. Well, that's a lot of money for a phone. And but it's for my wife. It's her birthday, and this is special. So they paid the $500. About 3 days later, she gets a letter in the mail and looks at her husband and says, "Honey, my plan is now $95 a month." Well, of course, the husband had almost a coronary. "What? We were at $54 with unlimited text, talk, and everything. How in the world did it go up to $95? So, naturally, like anybody else would do, they went back to the store and wanted to talk to the salesman about why was this so expensive? What's going on? And when they looked at the price breakdowns and all the other interesting stuff that was not told, talked about, pointed out, printed, handed out in printed form or any other way, well, they had to call the manager out because the salesman naturally was backtracking and he didn't want to, misrepresent T-Mobile, of course. The salesman then gave the lead to the manager of the organization there. The store manager, who was quite a picture himself, gentleman with earlobe expanders, I guess that's what you call them when you ruin your earlobes, with tattoos all over his fingers, arms, and, piercings and etc. Well, of course, he looked like Sideshow Bob, but that's the freedom of America, so we're not going to talk about that part. He came out with his smile, "I'm the manager, how can I help you?" And then the husband said, "Wait a minute, this plan is $95. We were at $54. Why didn't somebody at the time of sale start talking to us about these things?" "Oh, well, now, we gave you those earbuds, Those are earbuds are free. And you also have in here an opportunity to have Netflix on your phone." Well, the husband looked at his wife, who said, "Well, honey, this is kind of rough on us a little bit." And by this time, the husband had had enough. He said, "First of all, customer service really means something to me, which you people evidently don't care about. You started with your salesman pitching me how this is a great buy and how you have just absolutely given away the world with a set of earbuds for free. Listen to me very carefully. First of all, you never told us the price of these phones that were hooked to certain items." And the manager, "Well, you got to understand, sir. You've got to understand that this particular phone is top-line phone. So it's naturally matched with our top-line program." Great. The husband said, "Well, if it's matched with the top-line program, why didn't you tell us that when we asked and started looking at phones? Why did you not tell us that programs and different plans have been changed because you bought up the people who she was doing business with? Why wasn't this discussed?" And then let's talk about I think the most ridiculous rip of all, he said to the gentleman, who by this time the manager was getting hot. "Well, let me see what I can do here to cut some of these costs down for you. First of all, we did give you those earbuds for free, and that cost us, Uh-huh. And I imagine screensaver costs you a lot, doesn't it? Well, we throw those in and it's time to put it on. Well, isn't that interesting? Because Amazon sells the same product that you put on her phone, 3 screensavers for $12. You charged us $49. Isn't that interesting? And even though I can buy the exact same case that you put on my wife's phone for a third the cost, I let that go by. But I don't understand how you can actually tell us that the bill from $94 is worth $94 and a pair of free earbuds. Well, of course, you have to understand we're also throwing in the right that within 2 years you can trade this phone up, and that's when the husband lost it. Listen, I'm not interested in 2 years down the road. You did not give us the opportunity to purchase the product that we wanted when we came in. You did not discuss with us the additional cost, plan changes, and etc. I don't care about your free, and I won't use the words he used, to the gentleman behind the counter, the manager of the store, who looked like Sideshow Bob. I don't care about those. What I wanted was honesty. And I wanted to know what was going on at time of purchase. You see, folks, this is the whole thing, and this story that I bring up is the reason why everybody seems to think that, wow, I can go buy a brand new phone, and I can have Netflix and all these apps put on, and his phone's going to do so many beautiful things. People never look at the actual cost of that phone. The phone that she purchased cost is $1,200. And, of course, they automatically signed her to a 2-year commitment, which means, if you were to be honest, and T-Mobile was not, it means that this is your plan at X number of dollars, and the additional money tacked onto the $54 plan was payment on the $1,200 phone. Wow. Just think what we could do if we could sell houses that way, or cars, or appliances. Wouldn't that be something? You could make millionaires overnight. This is a bad industry to get a bad name in to begin with. The competition's fierce. Verizon and, T-Mobile, and, well, there's so many of them out there now that, and the names change yearly, that I couldn't really, in this particular podcast, bring them all up. But what upsetted the husband, and upsets me also when I think about it, is the fact that this actual, what I would consider transaction, was done without the permission of the buyer. The buyer just automatically ended up with not knowing exactly what was going on, and not being able to, without any written material being handed out by the store, without the salesman's communication, nor the manager's, fall into a trap. Well, what did the manager do to close out this wonderful mystery? It was simple. He said, well, you keep the earbuds, and I'll tell you what, I'll give you Netflix for as long as you stay with T-Mobile for free. That's about $7 value, so it kicked it down $7 from the $94. Isn't that great, folks? I thought that was marvelous. I don't know what kept the husband from not crawling over the counter and taking Sideshow Bob and shaking him until his eyeballs went around like, I don't know, massive amounts of indecision, or maybe they'd pop out onto his cheek. I don't know. It was really something. But it's not right. It's not right. We need to get back to the fundamentals of business. And a good friend of mine over at the Disruptors Programming, which she's been in business, and that's Candace Thompson from the Wild Child Group, for many, many years. When I talked to her about this and discussed it with her, she said, that's wrong. That's not customer service. That's not honesty, and that's not integrity. That's unloading, collecting your commission, and giving you a product under false pretenses. So I looked at her very calmly and said, well, maybe that's the T-Mobile model, a bait and switch. It could be. Well, I really appreciate coming on. This is our live presentation on a Friday night. We have a lot of things that we like to talk about. One of the things is simple conversations about what's going on around our location. Now, we are up in Puyallup, Washington, and for those of you that are maybe hearing this in a different area of the country, Puyallup's on the West Coast. This is the area where the people wear raincoats and have webbed feet. It's kind of rainy here in the West Coast. And I know a good friend of mine came up from Texas, says, for Pete's sake, does it ever stop raining up here? I said, well, for Pete's sake, we've got mountains and beautiful recreation spots. Down in Texas, the rumor has it is that if you have a dog that's misbehaved and you kind of get mean to him a little bit there and you throw him out of the house, you can sit at your front living room window and for 2 days watch him run across the country because there is no mountains, very few trees, and it's flat. Now, I know what everybody's going to say. They're going to say, Bill, for Pete's sake, that was really a low blow. But hey, Washington might be the most taxed state in the union. We might have some of the most interesting politicians who we're not sure what they do, but somebody elects them. And we're not 100% sure that Bernie the salmon is actually concerned about the water runoff into the drains that's polluting the water in the bays area here. It's kind of interesting. And it's grantedly true that our air is awfully, well, shall we say, mixed with carbon dioxide and bad stuff. Well, at least that's what the governor is telling us. And that 2030, we are going to have, are you ready for this, folks? We are going to have everybody with electric car. Yeah. California's following up in 2035, I believe, is the year. I could have the two of them mixed, but I don't think so. But the reason I'm even bringing this up is that there again will be the world's largest bait and switch. Because you see, electric cars are not cheap. And unless they drop tremendously in the next few years, okay, who's going to be able to afford them? Number two, are we going to change all the diesel trucks and heavy equipment, earth-moving equipment, bulldozers, and et cetera? Are those all going electric? Can't wait to see that. Is the delivery truck industry, our semis, all going electric? I understand that they're working on driverless semis that are driven by computers, onboard computers, and that's exciting. Are they going to be able to drive with electric motors too? I would imagine that technology will be a lot more advanced than it is as is today. But the reality of this whole thing, changing everything over to electric chargers, removing the fuel pumps from gas stations, coming up with a whole different world of ingenuity and engineering, and how as a common guy going to adjust to this next few years is going to be very, very interesting. And here's something else you got to think about, which I think about all the time. When we switch over to electric cars, lithium is the battery of material that makes an electric car work, okay? Lithium has to be removed from the earth, which means we have to dig a hole. Now, if you haven't followed the state of Washington, we banned all that coal mining and all this other stuff because it's destroying the actual area in our forests. It's polluting the air. There's a whole list of things that the government came out with for the reason to quit coal and to watch exactly how you're going to process different precious metals and etc. Isn't this going to open it up when we have to have massive amounts of lithium to operate and build car batteries? Right now, lithium is being used in electronic components, and I'm sure eventually the shortage will show up. Maybe some country besides the U.S. who likes to outsource everything will run into a situation where they're upset with our political power and shut off our lithium. That's kind of like shutting the light bulb off in your home, or shall I say, right after the power company disconnects your meter outside. It's kind of a frugal moment of history and really not basic of what you'd like to do. You'd probably like to leave the lights on. I don't know if this is going to work or not, folks. The cost, the change and everything is something that the government supposedly has looked at. Hasn't told us about it yet. Just said that we're going to do it and you're going to love it. Obviously, there's a lot of other things that come across the political table of wonderful facts and figures that we should all, as, now I want you to understand this, employers of this state especially, should really recognize and understand. Now, when I say employers, I'm not meaning the guy that runs the little corner store or the big commercial projects or the big corporations. I'm talking about the voters. Because here's how I look at this. You know, when we elect an individual to run and help us put together our communities, help us protect our communities, help us go through the political changes that affect us in everyday life, from grocery store shopping prices to logistic for freight to law and order. We expect the people that we vote to do this to become our employees. We are the ones who hired them. We voted for those people. They're now our employees who we would hope would respond to building a better state for us, not enlarging their bank accounts, I would say inclusively changing their way of thinking as far as, well, we got in office, What kind of favors? What can I invest in while I'm here representing a community that gains me a little, shall we say, notoriety and a popular bank account? I'm so tired of all of this, to be very frank and honest with you. In our podcast coming up, you'll hear me talk more and more about it, for sure. But way back in 1960s, our president, now is John F. Kennedy, made a statement about going to the moon. And I want you to hear this statement because this is where America should be today, but isn't. Hang on a second here. We had a little bit of a problem there. No, our lithium battery didn't wear out. It's just a technical problem. But let's listen to it now. I'm sure we've got it.
We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win, and the others too.
Interesting, isn't it? The way he talks about in those times going to the moon, setting our goals, and moving this country united because of the gifts and the opportunities and what we can do. That was a strong speech that you just heard. It was many, many years ago, I believe in 1963. Since then, we have accomplished a lot of goals. Our space program's had its ups and downs, but continues to thrive. Independent businesses now join our space program and are working to make what I call important decisions on getting into space and seeing exactly what the moon or the area of the universe will be like and how it will affect us on Earth. And the goals that we should be, as he said, actually implanting in everybody's mind to reach out. Because in this country, we have the rights to reach those goals and to work towards those goals, a freedom that not every country has. We are lucky enough to be the strongest and number one. But if we continue without thinking, we will destroy our country. There's no doubt about it. This ridiculousness that's going on that I'll talk about in other podcasts, such as the problems in schools, the problems right now in politics, the problems in our economy, all of it we'll bring up. Hopefully we're going to bring some special guests on the program to talk about just these things and more. Well, that kind of wraps our show up for today. If you want to send me a message and say, hey, Bill, I disagree with you, or Bill, why don't we talk about this? Or, and last but not least, I'd like to debate you on your show. Here's how you do it. You simply send me an email to Keeba, that's Keeba, agency, at gmail.com. Now, I answer all of my emails, and boy, I'll tell you, I get quite a few emails a day, and I will get back to you. I'll have the staff set up something, and we'll talk. You can talk with us over the phone or on the air, or we'll take some of your suggestions and see if we can make future shows and interest for starting what our goal is on our podcast network. That's to simply start a positive conversation. Our podcast network's growing, by the way. We've got new shows coming out this year. Dr.Troy Munson, who has been with us for several years with Revealing Wholeness, and his new show, Words of Radiance, will be played on all of your favorite podcast platforms, from Spotify to iHeartRadio and more. We appreciate all of you that have listened to us over the last 6 years at the foundation of better health through nutrition and chiropractic care. And that's Dr. Troy Munson. He is at Infinity Whole Health in Ording, Washington's clinic. So great time to talk about what I feel is very important, and that's our environment, our nutrition, and our mental health. I hope that you will come and tune us in next week. We're going to talk about schools, and we're going to start getting into that area. Wow, I can remember when I was a kid, schools were really different than they are now. I guess I missed something. It was probably the fact that kindergarten was kindergarten, and then there was no preschool or Head Start. And we're gonna start our programming with what I feel is going wrong in the Head Start program, and a couple of things that maybe you don't know that are actually happening, and we'll be talking about that. Also coming up, we're going to be talking to one of our show hosts, and that's Angie. And Angie is a therapist and a very well-known individual in the world of Reiki and different what we call energy powers. And we're going to have her on the show. You can check out her show, by the way, as she talks about her life and how she ended up getting into these different areas of beliefs simply by checking her out on Angie on the Road to Recovery. And we have some shows there which will, I think, really give you an opportunity to build a relationship with Angie. She's quite a lady for sure. We also have another show that we're very pleased to announce, and that's Community Heroes. That's coming up this year. Community Heroes is a simple podcast where we talk about simple people that have done marvelous things in our community. So you want to stay ready for podcasts with excitement, new hosts, and a lot more. And, of course, you can find me, Keeba-Live, here on Friday nights at around 9 o'clock live. So until we can meet again, I'd like to thank you for listening once again and remind you of something that we like to close the show with. First of all, we like to mention that you can find more out about our shows through keepasmiling.com. That's keepasmiling.com. The close of our show tonight is a very simple one. We want you to keep a positive thought in your mind. Look at the future, set your goals, and don't let this jibber-jabber from government or economists or healthcare people put you down. Keep a clear, positive thought in your mind, a goal that you can set and achieve, love in your heart for others, and we'll always, together, as America, we'll all keep a smiling. Thanks so much, and have a great evening.